And actually, give me one of those, because. So with this form, there's a few questions on the top just to kind of get a sense of things. How many hours you're planning on doing is the credit hours that you're taking. Obviously, if you're graduating or not coming back for this semester, actually, if you are a senior associate and you're not doing hours next semester and you don't owe us any hours, you can come and get an evaluation. All I really need for you today is the evaluation. You don't need to fill out this form. If you're looking at the form, a lot of those projects are looking really interesting. You can. So maybe just fill this out. You just need the CRN number from up there. If you want to fill it out, and then you can just go next door and just give it to Dawn. And then at the end, tell her at the end of class they'll bring the envelope.
Cool.
Does that make sense?
Absolutely.
Other than that, thank you for your service. If Katie's here, if you want to get her signature. Oh, actually, I have your. I'll get it to you next week. I have your certificate,
Okay.
but it's somewhere in my office.
Is this 407? No.
This is 408.
The price.
So 407 is the class Katie's teaching in the spring. It's called public deliberation. It's open to anybody, but it'll get more into the, well, what will 407 do?
Yeah, it'll get more into the theory and we'll do some design work. It's more kind of like how do we improve the political process at all levels of government. It is not overlapping with what you're learning in the CPD, but it will be extremely complementary to what you're learning in the CPD.
No. So it would be a useful class for CPDers to take.
The time,
2 to 3:15, Tuesdays and Thursdays.
Tuesdays.
So
Right
it's
before-
directly
right before
before
this
this
class.
class.
right before.
Yeah. And there's plenty of room in that,
Yeah.
so some of y'all want to take that. The reason I'm asking if you're taking that is because one of the projects they'll for sure be running in there is they're gonna help design and run when we take over Capstone, to do the improving the major kind of stuff, right? So the project list on the bottom, if you're really interested in potentially leading that project, you would need to be in 407, right? The reason I'm asking if you're gonna take 486, which is a group study class, it's focused on the rhetoric of human trafficking, I think. Dr. Kari Anderson in our department is teaching it. I'm not sure, does anyone know when that is?
That's on 11 on Monday.
Okay, 11 on Monday, Wednesday, Friday. And I don't think that's full either, yeah, there's still room in there. But we're probably gonna do a joint project. The idea right now, I think I might have mentioned this on Tuesday, to show a documentary on human trafficking and then run a deliberative process afterwards, or maybe design some material for that. So if you wanted to lead that project, which you see the human trafficking project kind of a little bit more halfway down the bottom, you would want to be in Dr. Anderson's class to do that. And then 508 is the grad class that I'm teaching, right? Obviously the people in 508 will be spending a lot of time on kind of the background of projects. So, they'll be in particular be lead students. But let me explain this before you fill it out completely. So the top thing, your top 5 interests, I want you, and there's more than 5, right? But of those, ranking them, use each number once, 1 being the thing that you're most interested in, and 2, 3, 4, 5. Since we have so many people coming back, we probably won't have enough hours just running projects like normal, right? So we'll do some other new projects. So the first one, serving whatever way is needed, is what traditionally people have done, right? Just like, hey, I'll just do my hours and whatever projects kind of fit my time, that kind of stuff. We still need a few of you, especially if you're doing 1 hour, that's perfectly fine. Say, I don't have a strong interest in any of these, I'll just kind of be a Jack or a Jill of all trades. Serving as a student lead with one of the projects below. We'll need some students, sometimes it's 1 student, sometimes it's multiple students. A student lead isn't you're running the project. The student lead is you're the student helping the most with a project, right? You'll still be working primarily with me or with Katie or some of the grad students. So it's not that we're expecting you know how to run the project. It's you have a particular interest in that project. You might do some additional reading for that project. You'll be someone for me to bounce ideas off of on the project. You might, as much as possible, come to meetings as we plan the project with community, that kind of stuff, right? So don't think lead like, oh, I don't know enough about it to be a student lead. It's more, oh, that sounds really interested, and I would want to spend a lot of my hours on that one thing, right? We'll still need all the senior associates to help with lots of projects, right? So it's not that as student lead you're only doing that, but you're saying I want to devote a lot of my time doing those, right? Serving on the publicity outreach team, this is somewhat new, but since we have so many people and so many creative people, so someone just probably a group to kind of work on improving the website. We're going to have a website overhaul anyway, so you can kind of help me with that in particular. When we have specific events, to work a little bit more on getting people there and doing some of the engagement kind of stuff. working, we have an email list, so there's a process kind of to that and helping kind of write those. Doing more social media, we have a Facebook page, we started kind of a Twitter thing, and then an idea that I kind of floated a little bit, I'd love to do a little series of short videos for basic concepts that we do, to explain what we do after, so when people go to our website, we have someone kind of summarizing the project, there's lots of little things that we can do with video. Some of it might be me talking about theory, some of it's you talking about different events, maybe at the end of the events, having a video set up and interviewing some people as they leave, to kind of, there's lots of little things that we could do with video. So if people are interested in that, you can kind of be part of that team. Serving as the mentor and CBD social coordinator. We'll check at the beginning of the semester. A lot of y'all will serve as mentors. There'll be a lot more of you than new people. So not everyone will get a mentor, but we'll check at the beginning of the semester if you want a mentor. But this is the mentor coordinator. This is the person that will be kind of matching people up, figuring out, keeping track of it, and then also kind of being the social coordinator, trying to help people get to know each other, that kind of stuff. Do some other outside the class kind of stuff, right? Serving on the CBD research team. Katie, you want to talk about that?
Yeah, so we will be starting to start evaluating the Oregon Citizens Initiative Review as it expands to other states in the spring. So I'll be working with Casey and Mar and hopefully some of you. Most of what we're going to be doing this semester is prepping for evaluating the event in the summer, and then also interviewing Oregonians that are doing a local process. So we'll interview people who participated in the process, so people who participated in a deliberative forum, and then also people who have not participated in the process. We will be meeting regularly for this one, so I don't necessarily want like 15 people, but if 1 or 2 or 3 or 4 or 5 of you are really interested in research, then it's a good opportunity to kind of get your hands wet for the first time and see how this kind of research is conducted.
So you'll probably have like a protocol, you'll do some telephone interviews, might learn some coding schemes, and then be looking at things and coding stuff and that kind of stuff. Right? Serving on the online deliberation team, I talked a little bit about this Tuesday. A lot of online tools out there, a lot of literature on there. If any of y'all are really interested in kind of how for us to kind of beef up what we do online and incorporate that more, I'm perfectly happy to kind of giving you some resources and those type of things, right? So if you're interested in kind of playing with those tools and then seeing with our ongoing projects how we might be able to incorporate those and to complement the face-to-face stuff. And then last, serving on the improving facilitation training team, just again, a core group of people. I'm hoping to get maybe 3 or 4 that really want to spend a lot of time looking at how we do the training, looking back through, say, all the self-evaluations, finding some good examples, looking back through some video. Likely towards the end of the semester, that group will run class. So they'll develop kind of new exercises and those type of things, or when we're developing new exercises, we'll rely on that team to kind of brainstorm. But to really, really interested in training, kind of want to, and all these things we're thinking about. This is, we'll come up with a title for this that you can put on a resume or that kind of thing, that you were part of this kind of thing. But we could always do better with facilitation. I get so caught up on the projects and that kind of stuff. So to have a group that really interested in looking at how we do training, improving that training, helping particularly with the workshop, but then also throughout the semester on different things. Right? So those are just some options of kind of teams that we'll form. If you have a really interest on that. And then the projects down below, so I'm asking you 2 things on the projects. On the left-hand column, I'm asking if you'd want to be the student lead for that. Like, I really want to spend a lot of time on that. And you can kind of, so pick your top 3 for that one. If you want to go to 5, you can go to 5. Once I kept on adding new ones, top 3 was, so yeah, let's go ahead and rank your top 5 for that one as well, so we're consistent. So that's, if you want to take a lead, I'll walk through these in a second. And on the right-hand side is just your overall interest in that topic, right? With 1 being really highly interested, 5 being, not so much. This isn't necessarily in order, but the ones towards the top are the ones that we for sure are kind of doing. The ones towards the bottoms are kind of optional ones. If there's a lot of interest on some of the ones to the bottom, then we'll elevate them. If there's not very much interest for the ones on the top, then I can try to kind of minimize what we're doing, right? I've got 2 meetings next week, one with the mental health team and one with the food team. So it helps me now to get a sense of your interest in it, to see how much we want to push for big events or maybe not as much. So the mental health project, obviously we ran the thing with UNC. There's a lot of interest in K-12 for us to kind of play with that data, particularly at the high school level. So that might be a topic that kind of cuts across mental health, the think tank, and K-12 issues. But there also might be other things. if we do a broader, just kind of mental health in the community issue, I'm pushing to kind of do a big survey first before we jump into an event. It might be that we just kind of survey the community more in the spring and then do a big event in the fall. So if you're really interested in mental health, then the fact that you'll be here in the fall might be kind of important in a way. And that you're interested in kind of survey, developing a survey and doing some quantitative analysis, because that's kind of what we might be doing for a broad mental health. But with the K-12 one, we might still run an event this semester. Yeah.
So for the overall interest in the topic, or are we doing that for every
Yeah,
topic?
yeah, so for everyone, kind of rate it from 1 to 5, again, 1 being you really like the topic, that yeah, CPD really should do this, and 5 being, I'm not that interested in it. And that just gives me an overall sense of the interest in these topics. And then on the left-hand column is you particularly, how much you want to lead that, right? And obviously on the left hand, you can only pick a few of them. You can pick one on every single one of them on the right. It's like, oh, these all sound cool, right? Before I asked only one of those and it got confused. So I think splitting it up allows you to rank them, but then also give me an overall sense with each. PSD Think Tank, that's the one. They typically meet every other week. We don't have a time for the spring yet, but it's often right after class on Tuesdays, but it kind of depends. The person that runs it's getting their PhD, so it depends if she's taking a night class or not. So sometimes it switches. But that's, we got a group of about 25 students from each of the local high schools that do projects for the school district. They just did a really cool project down at the Colorado Association of School Boards. So they're the only group in the history of CASB, the Colorado Association of School Boards, that's actually presented at the conference. So they have this student strand, so they have a part of the conference that's just for students, that people are doing things for students, but they leave that strand to actually run a session that school board members and superintendents go to. And we just did our second one. So they've been doing some cool work. But I know Kelsey's been helping with that this semester, but she's graduating. And I think Samantha's been helping a lot, right? But so that would be going to those meetings and then helping with that. Or they come up with their own projects. We did the bullying thing. There's some interest in continuing with the bullying thing. So if you're interested in bullying, that might fit. But there might be other new ones. I sent an email out today to the superintendent to kind of think about projects, both for us and for the think tank. So we'll see. Local food, obviously continuing with what we started with Fort Collins. So I got a meeting next Wednesday. If you're really interested in it and you can make that meeting next Wednesday at 1 p.m., go ahead and jot that down. Say, hey, I can make this meeting. But I'll be kind of presenting the information, kind of working with them to think about next steps. But it's likely,
Where's the meeting?
it's just at the gardens here, the Spring Creek Gardens, just kind of down from the Hilton. So it's like 2 minutes from campus. And for mental health, I have a meeting Monday morning at 9. It's kind of in the Larimer, the health district offices, which is in kind of north of Old Town. So, yeah, that's the local food thing. K-12 issues, right now, we're gonna do something for the district, probably for sure. There's been some interest for some national organizations for us to do something on Common Core. I don't know if the local school district would be like, no, we don't wanna do that or not. I asked her that in an email today. But we've also in the past done projects with individual schools on helping to improve the school and that kind of stuff, and run a PTA meeting for them, or do something with the students there, do something with the staff there during a collaboration day. So there's some different options there. So if you're just interested overall in K-12, I do a lot of work with CASB, so that's kind of going to be an ongoing kind of big thing that the district that we do. The city issues team, that's the thing that you're particularly focused on, working with the city on city policy. It looks like we'll likely do something similar to we did on October 10th this year. Continuing on with those issues or new issues, I'm meeting with Jenny next week. That meeting is Tuesday of next week, I think at 1 o'clock. But if you're really interested in that, you can join Jenny now as we talk about those. But overall, they feel that event went really well. So we're thinking about doing something to continue with that. Senior transportation issues is what we were going to run. We'll still run that event at some time. City water conservation plan, that's also tied to the city officially, the local government. Every 5 years, they have to come up with a new big water conservation plan, and there's some new rules to it based on some state laws that passed. So they've asked us to help with their public engagement on that. Age-friendly community. This is a broader, kind of tied to the senior transportation, but not just about transportation, about lots of different things. I don't know if y'all saw that a 91-year-old man died in Loveland outside of his, well, actually He used to live there, it was a senior facility, he used to live there, he had moved and still had friends there. And evidently he got there a couple nights ago and fell, and no one saw him, and he froze to death. But this is the one that we got the grant from to how Larimer County can become an age-friendly community, kind of deal with some of these issues. We have an all-day workshop on February 20th, which is a Thursday, so you probably need to come to that. But I'll for sure need at least one or two students kind of helping with that, but that'll probably be a long-term project. Human trafficking, I mentioned, Dr. Anderson's gonna focus on our class. That's more of an international issue. Not as much of a local link, but should be a pretty interesting topic. Improving the SBC and major, again, we take over a capstone for a day, for a class, which is 3 hours. In the spring, we normally run more of a breakout kind of thing. I'm thinking we'll probably get the Drake Center, like we did for the food thing. So we'll be able to spread the students out in chairs and that kind of stuff and do some kind of cool process-wise. But Dr. Knobloch's class will be running that. The new energy economy, this is, so CSU has an energy institute that does a lot of rural stuff. I don't know if you follow state politics, but one of the big things that was passed last year was requiring rural energy to have 20% renewable by a certain date versus 10. This is one of the big issues that the rural communities got really angry about, and that's why they wanted to secede from Colorado, all the counties kind of in the Northeast. So the CSU Energy Institute wants to go run forums on these. So they're putting in a grant. We won't find out if they get the grant, but if they get the grant, they want us to help maybe run some of these pilot forums. That'll be it'll kind of be an all-day thing. There'll be a site visit, so you'll kind of go out to either a fracking site or go out to a wind farm or something like that, and have all these kind of expert panels, and then run a session afterwards, right? So if you're interested in that, you can get involved in that. CSU Women's Conference, we mentioned about that. We were trying to find out, did you ever hear back from Lindsay?
Yeah, I think I know who the coordinator is, and
Okay.
Will is gone.
Yeah.
I'm right here.
There.
Okay. Okay.
You just weren't there.
Yeah. When's the day for that again? You're thinking it's
Yeah, it's
March, April? Yeah. So that's just a conference that has sessions, so we can come up with a session, apply for it, and then run a session for the women's conference. There might be a link between the trafficking, we might do something on trafficking during the women's conference, or both kind of thing, right? So there might be a connection there. The energy forums that we run, if someone was interested in those and wants to kind of revamp how we do them, do something, wants to kind of take over those and figure out ways. Part of that's just logistics, helping kind of figure out who's doing what, but also if you want to do, we've been gathering data, the forms that they fill out for years, so there's a lot of interesting stuff in there. So if you're interested in the topic or want to play with that, that's always an option. Prison reform is kind of a new one. I've got a couple of colleagues, national colleagues of mine, that are really interested in just the percent of our population that's in jail and does a lot of kind of prison reform kind of stuff. It's always seemed like a good issue for a national deliberation because it's one of those things that neither party will touch. It's a huge issue in our society, but no one really wants to talk about it. Our percentage of our population in jail is higher than any other country except, well, like we're second or third or something like that, right? So there's some really interesting issues kind of tied into that. So I emailed NIF, who does the books, and said, have y'all ever done one of those, or would you be, is there any? And they emailed back and says, that'd be a great topic. Do you want to write it? And my response was, nah, well, maybe. I'll check with my students. Right? So this would be a little bit of a different project. Obviously not as much of a local angle, but if you want to work with me and work with some of these national colleagues to, study the issue and then develop an issue guide for it, that potentially could be a national issue guide that centers all over the country would use, right? That we would be the primary authors. At some point we should probably do that. That might be a good topic for us to kind of take on to do that. Because I have some nice links. There's particularly a professor down at the University of Colorado, downtown Denver, that does a lot of this work, so we would collaborate with him. Then last, working with the Coloradan, we've started our relationship with the Coloradan, the local newspaper, if someone's really interested in kind of that, to help kind of cultivate that in a way, and kind of meet with them, and kind of push that. We're hoping that they're gonna be a big player with the Aging Friendly Community Grant, that they'll be kind of really be involved in that. But overall, thinking about how we can help them, how we can work together, and that kind of stuff. So I left a couple of blank spots there on the bottom and on both of them. If as we walk through there, something else kind of jumped out that we want to add, that you want to kind of see interest in the room, I know with the K-12, there's also some interest Tuesday about teacher evaluation and stuff, so that might be something we can certainly go to superintendent. I know in terms of timing, all the districts have just come up with their teacher evaluation plans, so it's kind of a bad time they need to kind of see how that works for a while, right? But there still might be some interest there. Or there might be interest with a think tank to do, how should we evaluate teachers, and do kind of a student process that will feed into how they think about it. Was there anything else that came up Tuesday that we don't have on there? So lots of different options. Everyone understand how we're talking about this? Yeah.
A potential thing that we could also do, if people are interested in it, last year I ran a sexual assault forum, and that was the first year we ever did it. It had some huge rough bumps that we would need to iron out if we wanted to do it again. But we did it with the Sexual Assault Awareness Month, and that's in April, and we worked with the WGAC and a whole bunch of other resources to be a part of their month and hold a forum that was for CSU students and for people to come and talk about it. So if people would be interested in running that again, we could revise that process and try and do that.
Yeah, that could be something that we do at the women's conference, or it could be something separate.
Yeah.
But if you want to go ahead and write that down, that first slot, kind of sexual abuse forum, and you kind of respond to that. Yeah.
I think we've gone over this several times, but I'm still not clear on it.
Okay.
Do we need to come in for the final period?
No.
Okay.
Yeah. So all you need to do for the final is complete that extended evaluation, right? So I sent those out, I think yesterday morning. Did everyone get that email with a link? Right. A couple of people emailed back some questions. You can always, you go, if you don't have time to finish it, you can kind of do as much as you want, and then you can kind of just go back in, put your name again, and just skip down to where you are, and then kind of compile it after the fact, right? So you don't have to do it all in one sitting. And we do want your name on it as you're kind of going through, but we also want you, if you want to say something you don't feel comfortable putting your name on, again, you can just go back into the link, don't put your name, go to whatever question, and do stuff, and it'll kind of come in. You might not want to do that right after you finish, because they'll be right next to each other. If you want to remain anonymous, but that's a way for you to kind of have your name on it, so you're getting credit for it. But also, if there's something you don't feel comfortable having your name on, obviously, we want to hear that stuff, because we're in constant kind of process of improvement, hopefully here. Yeah.
And do you know when that human trafficking class is?
Yeah, it's on Monday, Wednesday, Friday at 11.
Oh, are you taking it?
I have her now, she's awesome.
Yeah.
She is awesome.
Okay.
Yeah, it should be, class should be interesting. She's very passionate about that, so I think when you get a professor that gets to teach something that they really want to teach, you're going to get a good class out of it. All right, so let me just double check on this, because some people do it differently. So for the first thing, you're ranking 1 to 5, only using each number once, right? 1 being the thing that you're most, the role you're most interested in playing, on down. And then for the projects in the spring, kind of same thing. On the left side, you're doing your top 5, only use each number once. 1 is the thing that you most want to lead. And then on the right side, for each one of those, you're just ranking it from 1 to 5. 1 being you really like the project, 5 being you don't really like the project, 3 being sounds okay. So kind of complete all those, and then just maybe, I need someone to volunteer to take these all the way back to the SBCM main office. So on the other side of the wall. Thank you, I appreciate that. So just kind of collect all these forms, just keep them separate, just give them to Lauren, and you can kind of take them down to the CPD office. For the forms are obviously the same. You have, so SBCM 408 is the 3-hour class, the students that started the semester. 486 is for all the senior associates. So the forms are the same, obviously you'll write the numbers differently, and then you just need to make sure you put it in the right envelope, right? So then the envelopes, so we got a 486 envelope and a 408 envelope, right? So I'll start passing these out. So I'll be in my office. I sent a couple emails out of people that were missing some assignments, so if you didn't get an email from me, I think you're in pretty good shape. I haven't completely finished. I was trying to get through all the journals today, but we had a little technical difficulties with cutting and pasting your responses on the notes for the food and mental health over. So we're we're redoing some of that. We figured out what we did, but we did it wrong the first time, so it kind of slowed us down a little bit.
Do you
Yeah.
have like a target number for how many journal entries we're supposed to have? I'm sorry
Target
to ask
number.
that.
Yeah. I mean,
It should,
what'd you say?
But I missed a couple too. I think I just did my like 12th one or
Yeah, for first semester students, it should probably be around 12, I think. And for, for senior associates, it's more kind of based on the events that you do. Obviously, your hours are kind of more important for that. One of the questions I'm asking on the extended evaluation is we're trying to figure, it's tough with the new students to use your time outside of class just right? Because a lot of it depends on which projects you can actually make, and obviously, like, we have lots of Thursday night stuff, so people that had something Thursday night couldn't make stuff and things like that. And the events dictate so much of the time because you're prepping for the event beforehand, right? You're getting ready for it. You're kind of going through the facilitator guide and getting, maybe reading some additional. Then you actually have the event, and then you're typing up notes. So if you can't do events, all of a sudden you're doing a lot less. If you can do events and you like the events, all you're suddenly you're doing a lot more. I've resisted in the past asking new students to actually keep track of their hours outside of class. It's kind of a pain just to keep track of the hours. But I'm thinking I might try that next semester, just to make them do it to see. Because that will do two things. For the students that just can't do enough, we know that, and then we can either do some alternative assignments for them, or maybe even just beef up their hours for the next semester, right? So say instead of 40, you owe us 50 or something like that. Or for those students that really enjoy it and do more, well then once they cover their hours they're supposed to do, they can actually start banking hours for the second semester, right? So if you did every single event, and so then it kind of gives you that incentive. So I don't know how much of a problem it was. Ideally, if you're in the CPD, you're not a slacker, right? So it's not like you're taking advantage of, like, sweet, I don't have to do any of this stuff and I still get a grade kind of thing. But it might be more fair. So I don't know. And I think I might add this now. I'm assuming most of the senior associates haven't done their extended evaluation. Because I just asked the new students about that, but I'm going to ask y'all too, because y'all are the ones keeping the hours. I mean, how much of a pain do you think it would be during your first semester to keep hours outside of class, right? I mean, the way we would do it is, technically for every hour in class, you're supposed to spend 2 hours outside of class. So it's 2 hours a week for 15 weeks. So first semester students should have 30 hours outside of class. Did I do the math right? No, 3 hours, no, 6 hours a week, right? So six times 15, so 90 hours, right? Yeah, so outside of class you have 90 hours. And you would come to class, but then you'd outside of class 90 hours. So say the workshop knocks out, 9 hours, right? So a tenth of your hours outside of class is already done. Then whenever you prep, if I give you a reading, you would just kind of say, it took me an hour to do the reading. You would just kind of keep track of everything. So I don't know if anyone has, I'm asking you on an extended evaluation. I don't know if anyone has we have a little time now. If anyone, what do y'all think about that? You don't like it?
I think people would just end up like
bullshitting
Guesstimating a lot,
hours.
yeah.
Like it took me like.
I mean, it would drive you to your journal a little bit more often, but.
It took me an hour to write this journal entry that's like 5 sentences.
Because I mean, I hate punishing people just because they're busy, people that are working full-time, that can't come to events and that kind of stuff. But it's harder sometimes to kind of figure out exactly, like for the, we're getting that from kind of a sense from the journals. All right, so let me start passing. So obviously you need one of the little coding forms. Don't start filling it out until I leave. Someone's supposed to be here. Actually, someone will be filling it out. This one. Make sure you get one of each form. And if you don't know, this form obviously goes to the department head. Goes to the university, then goes to the department head, and then comes to me. Right. And then the extended evaluation just goes to me.
Yeah, you guys need one? Jeez, man. I want that pen back. That's one of my nice pens.
This is before it is.
Some of my quality plans, okay?
It's not laughing,
I'm
right?
taking this one, right?
Huh?
Watch it.
Was that on
Watch
top
it,
of
I
yours?
guess.
Someone had already completed that's 408. Okay.
You're a pen guy, Zach.
Oh.
Yeah, this is, you're supposed to use pens. Does everyone have pens?
Yeah, take notes and different color pens. It helps me remember. Martine, so if we're just doing the one practicum hour, are we circling any of these numbers? I'm sorry.
Huh?
Some of those,
Yeah, if you're doing one, you circle one.
Okay, but not, don't need to circle
This
this.
is if you're taking those classes.
Gotcha.
Really expensive.
Cool, thanks.
This is 408.
Oh, yeah.
This is the extension, right?
Huh? No, the student evaluation is the one I emailed you.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, so these are both the different pieces of the official class evaluation. Yeah, and those just turn them into learn to do screen. If it's finished, you can. Make sure you put your name on the white handout.